Good morning and welcome to a beautiful sunny Willow Park. My name is James Anderson. We're going to be doing some solid PVA bag fishing here for the day. Willow Park's a really great fishery for PVA bag fishing. It's got a good stock of fish. It's about 10 acres, 350 fish. It's good for a bite or two when you get on them, and hopefully in the next during the course of our session we're going to be looking at how I use PVA bags and hopefully get a few bites. We started off well. We've seen quite a few fish showing this morning, so it's been quite encouraging. We've got a few solids cast out to them, and this one's just rattled off, so not sure how big it is at the moment, but it's a good start to the day anyway. Always good to get off the mark. The sun is shining and life is good. Sweet. Right, that's the first of many. Well, look at that for a carp to get started off for the day. It's a typical scaly fish that Willow Park is so famous for. There's some absolutely awesome looking fish in here, and this is a great example. So it's good to get this one in the bag. Left it in the net while we got the other rod cast out, so get back fishing as quick as we can. So we're trying to get a few bites today, so trying to make the most of the time. So the rod's back out again. We'll get this one back as well, and hopefully won't be long until we get another bite. Solid PVA bags, they form a real big part of my fishing. There's a few reasons for that. First reason is they're really versatile. A lot of my fishing is short term, like short sessions where I'm trying to get bites either overnight, that sort of thing. So I don't want to be having to wait around too long for a bite. So they're really good for turning up, finding some fish and casting to them. And if you're not sure what the lake bed is like, then because the bag is covering up all the rig and everything like that, you're okay if you're landing a bit of light weed or sort of leaf debris and silt and that sort of thing. So if you're just casting to a showing fish, you can be pretty confident the rig's presented well, unless it's landed in some really heavy weed. The other reason I quite like them is the actual rig you can fish in them, and it's impossible really to fish the rig without using a solid PVA bag. So I'm talking about a big inline lead, sort of 2.5 to 3.5 ounces, a short braid hook length, say 3 inches or so, and if you cast it out without a solid bag on, then it's just not going to sit properly. The lead will plug in to any sort of soft lake bed or anything like that. But with a solid bag, it sits nicely, and it's very different to a lot of other rigs that the fish see, because when people are fishing with other, with a leg clip system or a helicopter system, those sort of rigs, it's a lot different. They're generally a lot longer. They haven't got an inline lead, so the actual hooking arrangement in a solid bag, I think, is really, really effective. Big lead, short hook length, very, very sharp hook, and that solid bag enables you to present that rig perfectly, either, as I said, casting to showing fish, or the other way I fish them is over a big bed of bait as well, and I'll quite happily fish 3 solid bags on a heavily baited area as well. And again, you've got a lot of attraction around your hook bait that helps the fish home into the bag, whether it's out by itself or whether it's over a bed of bait. And it's a lot different to what a lot of people do, because you don't necessarily see a lot of people fishing solid bags. People tend to think, oh, it's a bit of a faff messing around with bags, and if you miscast them and all that sort of thing. But if you get it right and you set it up right and you get yourself organised, they're no hassle at all, and a real big advantage if people aren't fishing them especially. So we got the rods back out nice and quick after the last fish, and it's paid off. We've had another bite pretty quickly, absolutely belted off. The really good way with the solid bags, because you get them out nice and quick, and they're good for getting really quick bites. When the fish are in the area, location's really important. You need to be on the fish, but if you get them on there, you get the bag right in the right place, then it can really produce plenty of action. In the bag we've been trying a few different colours. The PBs, the yellow ones, 10mm PBs on one rod, and the white milky malts on the other rod. And this one I think is on another PB as well. So it's worth playing around with the colours in the bags, because you can find that on different days different colours will produce better. Sometimes bright. I've also used darker colours as well, just like an SLK pop-up or something like that, just to blend in a little bit. It's a little bit less obvious. We've been playing around a little bit with those, but as I said, I think the 2 bites so far, I think this is on a PB as well. So they definitely seem to like a fluoro in here. Definitely whites have done well, and also yellows have worked really well for me here as well before, so that's why I've tried those to start with. It feels like a decent fish. It's not too, it's just on there now, it's coming up from the surface there. The water's quite shallow, so they're quite near the surface anyway. In she goes. Nice common. Lovely job. It's like a decent fish. A good upper double, I think. Well, look at that for one of the awesome Willow Park commons. We spoke earlier about some of the real scaly mirrors they have in here, but there's some absolute lumps of commons as well. This one pushing £20, if not over £20. Absolutely roared off. Love the solid bag with the crayfish mini mix in there and the PB pop-up. Absolutely nailed in the bottom lip, and you know, hopefully a sign of things to come. So we'll see if we can get a few more of these. Awesome. Okay, so we've just had a couple of fish first thing this morning, so we've got off to a really good start, and while we're waiting for the next bite, I thought we'd just talk you through how I fish my PVA bags, how I tie them up, the sort of mix and the baits, and some of the key aspects if you want to put this to good use in your own angling, some key things to consider. The first thing, one of the most important things, is the actual mix you're putting inside the bag. Now, what you need to think about is the bag being nice and compact when you're tying it. So what you don't want to use is huge pellets. You don't want to use like 8 or 10mm pellets or anything. They won't go into the bag very well. So use a very fine mix. And DNA have got the ideal answer to that, which is the crayfish mini mix, which I've used loads of different pellets, and over the last like 10-15 years I've been using solid bags, and this crayfish mini mix is probably the best mix I've used for solid PVA bagging. Absolutely stinks. Nice small pellets that pack down really nicely into the bag. The other thing I add to that, as if you couldn't make this mix any better, is some of the krill meal as well, which you can see that on my hand there. The krill meal, don't open that up in your house because your missus will not be happy, because it does not smell good, but the fish absolutely love it, and it adds extra attraction to the bag, really disperses into the water really well, and helps the fish home in on the hook bait in your rig. In the bag, as well as the pellet mix there, we obviously put our rig. Now that consists of an inline lead. This one's 3 1/4 ounces. Inline leads are really important to use. You don't want to use a leg clip or anything like that, because that could tangle in the bag, and it won't sit as neatly inside the bag once you've tied it up. So an inline lead sits nice and neatly in there. It's also a really good effective hooking arrangement, because you've got the whole weight of the lead coming into play. As soon as your hook length tightens up, the heaviest end of the lead there comes off the lake bed and pulls that hook into the fish's mouth. Moving on to the hook lengths, 3 to 4 inch hook length. Braid, again, you don't want a stiff material, because that's going to mean it's going to kink inside the bag. So it's a nice supple braid, means it sits in the bag nicely, doesn't loop up or kink or anything like that. Onto a nice sharp hook. I like a wide gape straight point hook for that. Very sharp. It's a size 6, and then couple with, on there we've got our 12mm PB pop-up. I either use a 10 or 12mm pop-up in the bag. Because you've got very small food items in there, what you don't want to do is fish a real big hook bait either. So you don't want like a 15-16mm pop-up in a bag full of little small pellets. So we want a nice small pop-up that gets hoovered up with the pellets as the fish is feeding over the rig. Just going to go through making the bag. I use a rapid load system. That enables me to tie them up really quickly, no wastage of PVA at all. You're not faffing around tying like PVA string or anything around there at all. It's just a real quick, easy, effective method. Takes a little bit of getting the knack of, but once you've tied up a few, I dread to think how many of these I've tied up over the last few years, hundreds and hundreds. Once you've tied a few up, they're really easy to do. So you've got the loader here with the collar. Put the collar over the loader and you get your bag, open the bag up and just slide the loader inside there, and then take the collar off. The loader then expands and holds the bag on there nice and securely. We get rid of any, make sure it's not overlapping or anything, make sure that's sitting nicely all the way around there. And again, there's a nice little ridge on the loader that you just put the bag to make sure that it is sitting in the right place. What we do then is we just blow inside there. That just opens the bag up and enables us to put our rig in there. Okay. First thing we do is we get the hook bait first, and we set that down across the bottom of the bag, like so. So it's just sitting nicely across the bottom with the pop up in the corner. And then I put a little bit of pellet in there, not too much. What you want is you want the lead sitting nicely towards the front of the bag. If you put it too far towards the back, then you'll find it wobbles in the air and doesn't cast very well. So what you need to make sure is you have your lead nice and close to the front of the bag. If you're only fishing short range, that doesn't matter. You can move the lead a little bit further back if you want to. But if you're looking to cast these a long way, and you can cast them well over 100 yards, then you want that lead as close to the front of the bag as possible. So we've got a little bit of pellet on top of the hook bait. Lead just settles down on top of the pellet there, and then we just fill up with a bit more pellet in the bag like so. Give it a little bit of a shake, make sure it's all surrounding the lead, you can't see the lead or anything, and make sure it's packed down. A little bit more, and we're about there. So you want to leave a decent gap, it's probably 1.5 inches or so between the top of the pellet and the loader, and that gives you enough PVA bag just then to be able to seal it up. So then we twist it down so it pinches the top of the bag there nicely, and then we push that over the bag like so. Then we just lick round the piece of PVA that's around the loader like that, and push that over the bag, and that then sticks to the PVA nicely. You don't want to lick it too much, just so it's lightly damp. Gives it a little bit of adhesion there. We then, just like that, it won't cast very well. So what we need to do is get rid of these corners. So very simply, we just pinch the corner, do a bit like that, get rid of there, you've got no pellets in the corner then, and then just lick that one and then fold it over the end, and then the same again on this side. I've just got our hook bait there as well, and again lick that and fold it over like so, and that is our finished bag. You can use bigger PVA bags, they come in lots of different sizes. I don't really see any advantage of that personally. I've used bigger ones. I don't think you really get any advantage. You can cast these a lot further, they cause less disturbance when they're going in the water as well, so I tend to fish with that sort of size bag. I think it's a 60mm wide one. Now a big part of PVA bag fishing, maybe a reason why some people don't use it so much, is because when you miscast, you have to wind in and then you have to do all that again, and you have to dry your rig off because it's wet, and obviously you don't want it, if you put it in there wet, the bag will start to disintegrate. So what I tend to do is I'll tie a few of these up on leaders. You can see here, this is just on a small leader. It's a 1 foot leader, 30 pound fluorocarbon. And the idea of that is I can actually then attach that with a loop to loop on my main line. So I can turn up, when I turn up to the fishery, I'll have a bag of these like in a food bag like so. You can see I've got a load there ready to go. So the idea is that I can turn up with those in my bucket, find some fish, set up, get my rod out, hook these onto the end, loop to loop, bosh bosh, you're fishing really quickly, no faffing around tying up. You're just able to get your rods out really quickly, same as if you just had a bite. Again, instead of having to dry your rig off, etc., you just take that rig off, unloop it, get a solid bag out of your store there, put that on and get that rod back out nice and quickly. And when you're trying to build big hits of fish, efficiency like that is really important. What you don't want to be doing is sitting there for half an hour with your rod out while you've just miscast and you're having to sort out your rod. If you miscast here, I've got a load ready to go, just wind it in, take it off, put another one on. Once your rods are out, you can then spend a bit of time drying your rig off, make sure everything's okay, tying a few more up, and then replenishing your supply ready for the next recast or whatever. Okay. We mentioned earlier a little bit before about the different hook baits. I've got a 12mm PB on there, but as I said, it's worth experimenting a little bit. We've also been trying as well the milky malts, the nice fluoros. They're really sort of high attraction, nice and visual. Or sometimes as I said before, I'll go for maybe a more dull hook, but these are the F7s or an SLK that's a bit more subtle and doesn't stand out so much, especially if the fish have been caught a lot on the high vis hook baits. Using a slightly darker hook bait can get you more bites and get you better hook holds as well. I've noticed sometimes if you're fishing for fish that have been fished for with solid bags and high vis hook baits a lot, they may be a little bit more cautious when they're feeding. Switching to a darker pop-up sometimes gets you those extra bites or gets the fish feeding a bit more confidently around your rig. So that's another thing to consider. So all in all, a really effective setup. Don't be scared and worried about the amount of time it takes you to get everything done, because if you set it up like this with some leaders in advance, you can take your time getting the bags tied up, and the more you tie, the quicker and easier they become as well. So it's well worth trying, especially in the fishery you're fishing. People aren't using them. If you're fishing there and everyone's using boilies, a lot of boilie and what have you maybe, then something a little bit different like a solid bag can pay off and work really well. So it's well worth giving a go. So as we're going into the night now, the bites have dried up a little bit on the solid bags. We've been casting them at showing fish during the day. We had a couple of quick bites and that was looking really good, but it's slowed up a little bit. So what we've decided to do is put a little bit of bait out on the spot and fish the solid bags over the top. As I mentioned earlier, we were looking at talking about the best ways to use them. One way, as we said, casting on showing fish. The other way, really good over a baited area. So I'm going to put a bit of bait out. They've been responding to a bit of bait recently, looking at the catch reports and what have you. So we're hoping that should get us a few extra bites, hopefully. Things should kick off. So the mix we're putting out, we've got quite a lot of crayfish mini mix in there. We've got that in the solid bag as well, so we're trying to imitate a little bit of that. Plus a lot of smaller food items. So we've got some 8mm S7, some crushed up 16mm S7 and a few whole baits as well. And as well as a bit of S7 pellet as well, and a bit of sweet corn. We're fishing those the yellow PB pop-ups, so a bit of corn in the mix as well. Just helps to maybe look a bit like one of the S7 pop-ups to blend in as well. So just trying to imitate really what's in the bag, a fine spod mix, nothing too big, just to get a bit of attraction going around the area, and hopefully that should concentrate the fish's feeding more than they have been. They've been dotted around all over the place today, so we've been sort of chasing them around a bit. Worked well. But we're trying to focus them in a bit more on our over our rigs by introducing a bit of bait. So as we go into the night, we'll get a bit of this out, and hopefully things should kick off very shortly. So we got that bait out earlier, just to try and get the fish focused a bit more around our bags. And there's been a few showing. I've had a funny occurrence on the left-hand rod, just recast that. Literally, as I've got back into bed, it's about 11 o'clock, just dozing off, and just recast the left-hander, and the right-hand rod just absolutely belted away. So we're into a carp. It's not taken long for them to get on that bait out there, and they've soon zoned in on that bag. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's a good sign of things to come, hopefully, for the night. It's coming in quite nicely now. It feels like a decent fish, to be fair. We shall see. There we go, nice one. Yes. Result. That's a good result there. Putting that bait out's definitely paid off. Well, there we go. Look at that for another stunning Willow Park mirror. We said there's plenty of scaly fish in here, and there's another absolute cracker. Absolutely melted off. Obviously got on the bait really quickly, so homed in that solid bag. That was another PB pop-up on that one, so they're obviously loving the pineapple pop-ups today. Really good sign of things to come, hopefully. We've had a little bit of a quiet spell. We've got that bait out, and that's definitely triggered them into feeding again. So fingers crossed we'll be in for a few more tonight. Sweet. Well, morning. We've had a busy night. Since you last seen us, we had that fish, then had a bream, and then another carp after that. So I've not had much sleep last night. This morning, got the rods back out there. There's plenty of fish showing, but the swans have been absolutely caning us. They've been over the spot with some of that bait we put out last night. They've been feeding on that all morning, so literally for the last sort of 2 or 3 hours we've not really been able to get the rods out properly. I've kept picking the baits up, I've had to wind in, so it took a little while to get the rods back out, but they've finally given up. Got the solid bags back out there, and literally half an hour without the swans on the spot, and my right hand rod's just gone. Got them back on there lovely, and yeah, the swans are now chilling out in the sun, I think, and we've finally got a chance to, oh, there we go, finally got a chance to do a bit of fishing again. So this one's just woken up. He's come in pretty easily, to be fair. I thought he might have been a tension when he first picked the rod up, but he's just woken up. So yeah, they've obviously been on the bait all night. I put a little bit more out after I had those 3 fish, a 2 carp and a bream. I thought, well, I'll put a little bit more out just to make sure there's still some out there, because there's obviously quite a lot of feeding activity around. And yeah, as soon as the swans have allowed it, the carp have got straight back on there again, so it's looking good. Hopefully we can nab a few more in the next hour or two. Nice, we got him in the bag. We put up a good scrap there, but yeah, we got him in there eventually, so it's happy days. Right, let's have a look at him. Well, look at that. These Willow Park gems just keep getting better and better. Well, that was worth a bit of a wait till this morning to get those swans out the way, like we said, and this one just roared off. Absolute stunner. Something really, you know, you've got to say about the stamp of fish in Willow Park is absolutely amazing when you've got mirrors like this. This isn't unusual, you know. In some lakes this would be some of the best looking fish in the lake, but this one isn't even unusual for here. So absolutely made up with that. Brilliant, awesome result. And we're hoping to get 1 or 2 more. They've all but one of them has been on the PB pop-ups actually, so that's interesting. I've had one on a milky malt and one on a PB the whole time, and I've had 4 fish on the PB, so I might switch both of them onto the PB pop-ups now and see how we go. So just try and increase our chances a little bit and of getting a few more bites. So lovely, we'll get this one back anyway and we'll see if we can get a few more. Well, we've not just long had that mirror, and the other rod's gone off, and look at that absolute chunk of a common. Not just stunning mirrors in here, but these awesome commons as well, and it's really kicking off now. So we've had 2 bites in about half an hour or so. The solid bags are really working well. They're nailing the PB pop-ups as well. The combination, you just can't go wrong. Little yellow PB pop-up and the crayfish mini mix, and the fish just can't resist it. Look at that, absolute stunner. So just coming to the end of our session here at Willow Park. It's been a great 24 hours. We've just been packing up, hoping for one final bite, and off goes the rod. So it's a perfect end to what's been a really great session. Fish is just coming in now. Looks like it's a little mirror. Yes! Final fish of the session. Awesome. What a great way to end. So it's only a small one, but hey, it's great to get bites like this. We've had some really nice fish, and it's a really nice way to end. Cool, right, let's have a look at him. Well, look at that for a way to finish. What an awesome session it's been here at Willow Park. We've had a great session using the solid PVA bags. It's kept bites coming pretty regularly over the course of the session. They really are a great technique to use for short sessions, roving around, casting at fish, and also fishing over a bit of bait as well. And if they're not being used by people on your water, then it's something well worth thinking about and using. Not that hard once you get the hang of them with a bit of practice. And look at this sort of thing for your rewards. Some of the fish we've caught in this trip prove how effective they can be. Just like to say a great thank you to Willow Park for having us as well. Really great venue. Terry even brought me a birthday cake this morning. It's my birthday, so that's not bad. A little birthday present for me as well. Great facilities, great carper's breakfast as well. I've eaten plenty of those in here. So you know, it's a really great fishery, great stock of fish as well. You know, you've seen the quality of the fish we've had. Everyone's different, some real scaly ones, some old ones, nice commons. And you know, if you're looking to get a bend in your rod, there's plenty of them as well. So well worth a trip over here, and you know the method to use as well when you come over. Get the solids out and you won't go far wrong.